That I don't know yet.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, guys, we are live. We don't have any intro songs today. We don't have any of that. Buck's gone. He erased everything off of our StreamYard here, so I don't even have any real clips to play you. I mean, we can go old school here and put up the old overlay. Get some play there. But no, tonight, guys, we're talking some fantasy football. I got my boy Wyatt Williams in the house. What's going on, Wyatt?
Nothing much, man. Just hanging out. Just had some schoolwork to do today, and then other than that, that's about as dangerous as I got.
How's the college life treating you?
It's good. It's good. I'm currently 7 months away from graduating. So, yeah, I'm just excited for that. I'm starting to realize that this time next year I'll be in a full-time job and all that stuff in the industry. So I'm really excited, starting to look at some things. I was in Miami last week at a career fair. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. Got to go to a Dolphins game after with my friends, and that was a lot of fun. And then
did you get to see
this weekend I'm going back down to Miami again. Do what?
You get to see Tua's little noodle arm underthrow Tyreek Hill on that
yeah,
route?
I actually there was some stuff that happened. So they had this job fair, and we left the job fair at 6:45 to go into the stadium, but we all had our backpacks, and you can't bring your backpacks into the stadium. So I had to walk all the way back to the car and change and drop my backpack off. And by the time I got back, I missed Tyreek Hill and Tua even being on the field. I missed most of the first quarter. I was so mad.
Man. Yeah,
but I still got to see. I got to see a pick six that was really awesome. That was a really cool return. I got to see the Dolphins put up like 48 points to the Eagles, like 7-10, something like that. It was a murder. That was a lot of fun to watch. And I saw. And speaking of the Eagles, I saw their trade today too of Rager. Isn't that funny how the next pick after Rager? I was thinking about this. The next pick after Rager was Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
And they just traded him to the Vikings for a guy that they picked. And the guy that they picked after is their wide receiver one and one of the top wide receivers in the league.
Well, let's start there with our fantasy talk. Why? Because we're going to talk about some guys who we think are going to have some down years that you don't see coming. And we're going to talk about some guys we have some positive years coming that you don't see as well. But Jalen Reagor, to me, to the Minnesota Vikings is a huge step up for Jalen Reagor. I think that to me just put his draft stock way up there. I think he went from a late sleeper to probably a top five rounds. You're going to take Jalen Reagor in, right?
You think so?
No, I mean, come on. He just went from the Eagles, who I don't even who was their other who the hell are the wide receivers in Philadelphia? And not only that,
AJ Brown,
Jalen Hurts throwing to him.
AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. Those are the wide receivers there.
You have Jalen Hurts still throwing to you. Now you go to Minnesota, where they're able to open it up with Justin Jefferson, where you've also got a quarterback who look, I mean, you say what you want about Kirk Cousins. Everybody poo-poos Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is a top fantasy quarterback every single year. He puts up numbers.
Cousins is nice. Yeah.
And so
it's like the Tim Duncan factor. Like nobody will ever give Tim Duncan the look for the GOAT of basketball because he was the big fundamental. He was boring.
Yep. So. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, so with that being said, so now you get Jalen Reagor over into Minnesota with all the weapons they had. I already think that this is Minnesota's division to lose. I really do. I've said that for months now. I think that Green Bay is going to take a step back because, as we were talking about before the show, before we went live here, I feel like this is, Aaron Rodgers' least supporting cast. He's going to have to show me, same way with, and I've said it about Patrick Mahomes. You got to show me you can do it with lesser talent around you, and that's something we haven't had to see from Aaron Rodgers yet. So, and I'm not sold that he's really sold on playing football anymore either. So I feel like the Packers are going to take a step back, and I feel like this is Minnesota's division to lose. And so that being said, I think Jalen Reagor is a huge sleeper now that he is a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got more upside now that he's in the Minnesota offense. I still just get nervous because you got to think over top of him, you've got the wide receiver 1 there, without a doubt, is JJ. It's, Justin Jefferson. The wide receiver 2 is Adam Thielen, and a lot of people have been saying that he took a big step up in this offseason. Then you got Osborne behind that, who took a big step last year. Treadwell's up there. He's not too bad, but you've also got their running back core takes up some reps as well. Dalvin Cook takes up a couple of reps with the screen game. You got Alexander Madison, if he does go out, who takes up even more of the screen game because he's more of a pass-heavy back at the RB2 position for them. And then Irv Smith at the tight end position for them. He's going to get, I think, a little more reps this year. So depending on where he falls in this lineup, if Justin Jefferson takes the outside wide receiver positions where he is, primarily their deep threat to mid threat, which is where I would see him playing.
Yeah.
That means that Thielen would probably go at the wide receiver 2. If Rager falls in some place where he could be a slot wide receiver, I think that would be where he's most successful in this offense, running like drags and under routes. And I think that he could, if he fits that way in the offense, I definitely think he could have a lot of fantasy upside to him. It's just there's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense.
There definitely is, but when you all of a sudden you're inputting a first round draft pick as a slot receiver, that to me, I mean that's going to really, I think he's going to get a lot more targets than we think. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of these things that we've seen on cut day and then the day after cut day with some of these moves we've seen, like, I mean, the Bears picked up Alex Leatherwood today. So, I mean, that I don't know why Las Vegas lost confidence in him a year after drafting him so high. A lot of people thought that they should have taken Tevin Jenkins over Alex Leatherwood.
Was poopy last year. That's why.
Well, I mean, the Bears have been down on Tevin Jenkins too. Tevin Jenkins had the back surgery, and then it came in, and then there was supposed this whole talk about trading him in the preseason. But those types of things, I think, can jump somebody's draft stock. Like, do you think that the pickup of Alex Leatherwood, if he becomes the Alex Leatherwood that was drafted so highly, do you think that could raise Justin Fields' stock, or even at more than that, David Montgomery's stock?
Yes, but to say something before that, I would like to say that on this show, I said we were doing our draft spectacular that night. As soon as the Raiders took Leatherwood, I immediately said, "What? That is way too high for this guy. He is nowhere near that good." I mean, the amount of offensive line they took that were taken after him that are now even better is uncanny. I mean, this guy did literally nothing last year. But yes, if he does, jump back to his pre-draft Alabama ways, and he does, make some good contributions to this offense and doesn't allow, Justin Fields to have a defensive lineman in his face every play or every other play, then yeah, I definitely think this could add some fantasy upside to Justin Fields, David Montgomery, maybe even Mooney, because, I mean, Justin's got to have more time to get the ball out to Mooney. If Justin's got no time to release the ball, then how's Mooney going to get it? So, I definitely think it affects everybody in the offense. And with the way that the Bears offensive line has looked in the last year and this preseason, I really kind of think that was a good addition. I mean, worst come to worst, you end up cutting the guy next year and you call it even. You spent nothing on him. And this is a guy who, like you said, was drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. So clearly somebody somewhere has seen something. Now,
and it's
was that the Raiders seeing something?
Right?
Sure.
Like they moved Tevin Jenkins to right guard, and Tevin Jenkins has had a phenomenal preseason at right guard. It looks like he's going to be the starting guard.
He's huge. He's huge for a right guard.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of the kid. I like the kid. He's got a huge mean streak on the field. He's a different person on the field than he is off the field. David Montgomery has been saying that all preseason long. He's like, there's a switch when Tevin Jenkins gets on the field. And I like what we're seeing there. And to add Alex Leatherwood, a first-round draft pick, as depth at this point, I think is a good step for the Chicago Bears. I think they're better than what some people are saying. I don't think they're a 4 to 5 win team, especially when they've got teams like the Jaguars, the Jets, the Texans on their schedule, not to mention as they get to feast on the Lions twice. So I think that they're better than the 4 to 5 wins. I see them more as a 7 to 8 win team. But as
That's
far
where I
as
was going to have them.
yeah, as far as draft stock goes, I'm looking more like, you're looking at your number one guys, right? Like David Montgomery to me is a guy who is very underrated in this league. This is a running back who can break out. I mean, he could compete for getting to 2,000 yards if he's running behind an offensive line. You know what I mean? Like if he had a different scenario over the last 5 to 6 years, we might be talking about him with the likes of King Henry and some of these other top backs, Alvin Kamara, even, with David Montgomery's name, but nobody talks about him because of how abysmal the Bears offense has been. So let me ask you. So we're talking about some wide receivers here. We're talking about different draft stock. Let's go with like a 10 to 12 team PPR league, right? What is your strategy for those of people listening here on YouTube? I haven't even really looked at the comments yet to see if anybody's chiming in yet. But what is your strategy moving forward if you're in a 10 team PPR league that's picking from scratch? And what are you looking for? Are you leaning quarterback first? Are you leaning wide receiver? Do you go running back heavy? What is your stance on that?
We're just doing it's a 12-man, 10 to 12-man PPR, just straight up league. It's not a super flex, tight end, none of that stuff. None tight end premium, just straight up. One quarterback, one flex.
Yep, no super flex, none of that. It's just a straight 12-man PPR league.
Well, first and foremost, my ultimate strategy going into any redraft league is the two most vital positions is what goes first. I always go with either the best running back or the best wide receiver on the board. If there is if I am at pick 3 and both Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey are off the board, then I go Cooper Kupp. If I'm at
Christian McCaffrey, huh? You still value Christian McCaffrey really high, even though he only plays like 3 games a year?
Oh no, I'm not valuing him high. I'm just saying that's his ADP. Okay. In ESPN ADP leagues, he's number 2. It's Jonathan Taylor 1, he's 2. I know, no, I totally agree with you. I agree with you 100%. If I have the second pick, this is what I'll tell everybody listening. If you have the second pick in your draft and Jonathan Taylor goes first, which I can almost guarantee you he will, unless if the dude drafting in front of you is a bozo, okay? If you're at pick 2, I beg you, do not take Christian McCaffrey. I am praying that you won't. For your sake, for your fantasy team. So that way in week 3, when the literal wheels come flying off of his body, like you're going to be sitting there like wondering what happened. And don't worry. I've been through it too. Right. I've been through it too. Okay. I have drafted McCaffrey at pick 1. Okay. It was a mistake. It will never happen again. Christian McCaffrey, when he is on the field, might be the most dynamic playmaker in the National Football League. Like, I don't want to disrespect this guy one little bit because he is a dude when it comes to carrying the football and catching the football. He can do literally anything in an offense, whatever you need him to do. But he just gets hurt always, all the time. Yeah. It's a constant thing. It's every single year. And I just can't invest the second overall pick in that. I just can't.
Does Baker Mayfield ease some of that for you, though? Having Baker Mayfield having a quarterback that they can rely on, which they really haven't had in Carolina over the last couple of years since they've had CMC. Does he alleviate some of that worry for you?
Well, you got to think last year, Sam Darnold, for the first 4 games until Christian McCaffrey got hurt, was playing really well. I mean, the Carolina Panthers started out, 4-0, 5-0 last year? Yeah. I mean, they started out on fire. Everybody was like, what happened? Sam Darnold was tossing the rock incredibly well. Christian McCaffrey was running the ball really well and doing his thing, obviously. And DJ Moore had stepped up. Robbie Anderson looked really good. So the whole offense had meshed. But then once Christian McCaffrey got hurt, the whole thing fell apart. Yeah. So as much as I do like Baker and I do believe in Baker and I think that he is an upgrade at the quarterback position for the Panthers, I just don't. It's just still a thing of like I've read this book before and it ends the same way every single time, and I just can't trust him. And when you look at his years that he has been a good consistent fantasy back, there's been 1-2 years where he's actually played the majority of this season. Yeah. So, and I just I just can't trust that at 2.
Where do you value? So where if you're if you're watching a draft and say CMC keeps falling and falling and falling, right? Where would you say, hey, at this point, you need to take Christian McCaffrey because he's worth it at this point?
Yeah, that's so tough because it's like, I don't think this will ever happen. I still think that there's going to be people at pick 3 and pick 4 who are like, Christian McCaffrey at pick 4? And they're just going to click that button real fast, and not think.
Yeah.
If it gets to a point to where you're at pick, that's so tough. That's so tough. If you're at pick 6 or 7, if you're between 6 and 8, 6, 7, or 8, and Christian McCaffrey's there, I would not call you wrong if you did draft him there. Okay. I just feel like there are much safer and possibly just as, powerful of fantasy players at 1 through 5. Because when you look at it, I'm not taking him over Jonathan Taylor. I'm not taking him over Cooper Kupp. I'm not taking him over Jamar Chase. I'm not taking him over Justin Jefferson. I'm not taking him over King Henry.
Okay.
I'm not taking him. I don't even know if I
Henry.
Do what?
NFL Talk, Tennessee Titans wants to know, where do you draft King Henry?
Where do you draft Henry? I'd say Henry is like you could maybe get Henry at the mid to late first round is about where, if you get really lucky, if he's there in the second round. If you're in the second round and Derrick Henry's still on the board, take him. Like that's a easy do it, jump at it.
Yeah.
If you're in the late mid to late first round, it's not bad. It's not bad to go with him. And really same with the beginning. I mean, because especially with they just lost AJ Brown, they don't have Julio Jones anymore. Yes, they have Robert Woods. That's a really nice addition to the offense. Yes, they just drafted why am I forgetting his name? The rookie wide receiver that they just drafted.
Oh, the Titans?
Yeah.
I'm bad with names too.
I know.
I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
It totally just slipped my mind. I know him 1,000%.
I can't. The kid out of Alabama, right?
Raylon Burks out of Arkansas. That's what it was.
Arkansas. There you go.
I could not remember to save my life. But anyways, yes, they just drafted Raylon Burks. He's a nice addition and really essentially the closest rookie wide receiver to what AJ Brown does. So there's a lot of stuff in this offense, but I still think King Henry, at least for the next year, maybe even 2, is going to still be the number 1 ball carrier in this offense.
It's also a matter of who their quarterback is too, right? Because their quarterback is one of those guys where I watched 3 times. I was talking to Buck about this earlier and Soup Boss. I watched 3 times last year where they're down in the 4th quarter and they're still handing the ball to King Henry down by 2 scores with like less than 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And they win all 3 of those games because King Henry rushes all over people. Like,
right.
He is that guy, and they don't have a quarterback that they can trust in crunch time. They don't have a quarterback that they don't trust to not turn over the ball in key situations. So they give the ball to King Henry.
Whenever you've got a Mack truck at running back who averages like 8.5 yards per carry in his best moments, it's like you kind of have to hand it to him.
I drafted my league tomorrow. I have the 4th overall pick. And one of the thoughts that I've had is if King Henry's there, do I run with it? Because I love King Henry in Tennessee, and I know how they utilize him. I know they utilize him a lot. So the injuries late in the season could be a thing that could screw me in the playoffs. But I feel like he's one of those guys you could ride to get you to the playoffs too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'll say in your defense of drafting him is he has looked completely fine in this entire upbringing to the season. It's not like he's, limping or has had to, favorite or anything like that. And the injury that he sustained is not it's not an injury like an ACL where over time it just, degrades and just gets worse and you eventually tear it again and again and again. It's not like that. The injury he sustained is kind of like a one and done type deal because it's something where I don't know the exact science behind it, but whenever you break a bone, the calcium fuses back together and it's harder in that spot to break it than it even was before. So it's not a bad idea to get him, but what I will say against getting him is if JT goes 1, McCaffrey goes 2, then either that will ensure that you get Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. So you might consider, if you're at the 4th pick, you might consider going with a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, whichever one doesn't get picked. That's not a bad selection there. And neither is King Henry, but yeah, that's kind of that area where it's a little tough because it's like if you have the 1st pick, that's a lot. That's
look, that's a hell of a prediction. NFL talk.
That'd be an NFL record. That would shatter the NFL record.
I know you're a Titans guy. I know it. I mean, maybe he's talking about 2,300 total yards. Maybe he's including receiving yards here.
That would make sense.
Man.
That's 204 yards over the record.
And
the record is
isn't it?
No. It's Marshall Faulk, I believe.
Oh, Marshall Faulk. I thought no. Didn't King Henry break the record a couple seasons ago?
He got close. He's like top 5. Adrian Peterson was the one who got within 8 yards of it, but the Packers stopped him at the end of the game. Yeah. He fell 8 yards short of the record.
Them fucking Packers, they could mess up a wet dream.
Right?
Oh, man. Speaking of wet dreams, guys, time to pay the bills a little bit. If you're looking to have some wet dreams, we have a deal for you. You can go to Manscaped and use promo code MANHOUR20 to get 20% off of your Manscaped products. I tell you right now, Wyatt, I used the Manscaped products that they sent us for free in the mail, a little promo box that they sent us. I shaved real good. I didn't have to go hover over the toilet either because it's waterproof. So I got to take it in the shower. Didn't have to worry about anything. Sprayed a little bit of what they call the ball deodorant on. Michelle got into the bedroom and she's like, woo, boy. Yeah, I'm telling you why you got to get yourself some. If you have not gotten yourself some, that I'm telling you, that Manscaped stuff is the real deal. Make sure you check out Manscaped. Save yourself 20%. Promo code MANHOUR20 right now. All right, Wyatt. So we've talked about Buck. He has a thing for King Henry. I don't know why. He's hell bent. He's like Max Kellerman, as Soup Boss said. He's like Max Kellerman going after Tom Brady with King Henry, because he's just going to keep saying that he's going to hit a cliff until he actually does hit a cliff, and then he's going to be like, "See, I told you." And right. It's just not happening. Like, I don't know what to tell you, Buck, but you're going to be wrong again. So going back to the PPR league. So you said you like to take running back, wide receiver first. When do you stop going after running back, wide receiver? What round are you looking to go after a quarterback? Or is even quarterback your next position? Or are you going with like a high-end tight end? What are you looking for here?
So I typically try to avoid quarterbacks until the 8th to 10th round. The reason why behind this, for example, I'm playing with my friends in a Dynasty Superflex league, and in that league you take quarterbacks in the first round because right. You need to play 2 quarterbacks. It's more valuable. But in a standard, just regular PPR league, last year I believe it was, and the year before that, the difference between the QB1 of fantasy football and the QB10 was 2 points per week. Oh, wow. Did you know that?
I did
That's
not
it.
know that. Okay.
So while the quarterback position is valuable, absolutely, in fantasy football, I mean, they get you the most points every week. You can still cash in at a later round on a guy like Matt Stafford, who's still going to get you a bunch of yards. Derek Carr, who's still going to get you a ton of points. Those guys. I typically like to go running back, wide receiver, up until I've filled my running back, wide receiver, and flex spot. At that point, I then go tight end.
Okay.
And the reason why is kind of the same with tight end, because if you don't splurge on a tight end in the top 4 rounds, you're not really going to get a guy, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So you're going to get one of those mid-round guys, Dawson Knox, Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, one of those guys who are still really productive fantasy tight ends and are going to score you a lot of points. Maybe if he falls, you might be able to get TJ Hawkinson, but There's no guarantee in the 6th, 7th round that Hawkinson will be there. But if he is, then Hawkinson is the pick. But if he's not, then you should expect either Dallas Goedert, Dawson Knox, or Dalton Schultz. One of those 3 guys will be there, and all 3 of them are good fantasy tight ends to pick.
So that's interesting. Let me cut you off here real quick. When you get back to the quarterbacks, right? Like you're saying 8th round because the difference between number 1 and number 10 was an average of 2 points per week. Now, if you start seeing, does it depend on your league? Because if you start seeing quarterbacks flying off the board, you probably want to get in there at some point, right? Like, well, what quarterback? Yeah. Once what quarterback goes off, do you like? All right, now all these quarterbacks are off. I need to come get somebody before I end up with nobody. Which quarterback is that for you? Because obviously you're Tom Brady, you're AR-12, you're Patrick Mahomes, probably even Derek Carr, maybe even Kirk Cousins are going to be going in the top 5 quarterbacks. What quarterback is that trigger for you to be like, you know what, next pick I got to go quarterback?
Right. Well, the first quarterback always taken is normally Josh Allen. The second will probably be Patrick Mahomes in your leagues. Third will probably end up being Lamar. Then you got 4th is probably either Aaron or Kyler Murray at 4 and 5.
Oh, wow.
I think once you see those 5, because you want to, obviously the quarterbacks with more run upside have the most points going into a year. So I would say once you get to a point to where the quarterbacks that are left, once you see Tom Brady, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford, once you see those names still on the board, that's whenever I would start, in that next pick or the pick after, I would take a quarterback. Now, obviously, be very conscious of your draft. If you see quarterbacks flying off the board and, if you wait 2 more rounds, Zach Wilson is going to be your starting quarterback. Obviously, don't do that to yourself. You don't want Geno Smith or Drew Lock running your fantasy football team because I can promise you're not going to win your league.
Right.
So I think it's more of just a situation of knowing what the other people in your league are doing and kind of keeping track of what's going on. Okay. That's more of what I do. I do like to have a strategy where I do go running back, wide receiver heavy. I mean, especially in a PPR, 1 QB, 1 tight end, non-super flex league, I typically only get 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends because there's not really a need to have 3 of those because you're not going to play a quarterback at flex and you're not going to play a tight end at flex unless if you have if you have Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, you might play Darren Waller at your flex. But if you don't have 2 incredible tight ends, then you're just not going to play a tight end at your flex. It's just not. It's not going to have. Mike Gesicki is not a good flex play. He's just not. He's a great tight end play, but he's not a good flex play. Right. So that's why I typically go way more running back, wide receiver heavy, just because there's so much more variety in that. And those are the guys who get the ball more. Those are the guys who get hurt more. They see more hits. So, obviously RB1s are going to go down. It just happens. So you need depth at those positions for guys to come in and fill in.
Yeah.
So that would be my strategy.
That's a great,
what's up, Drew?
That's a great strategy. Drew says, Wyatt. Joey chimes in and says, Wyatt, when you come back, let's go to a Cards football game.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then Buck says Dak will be great. What kind of season do you see Dak Prescott having?
I actually do like Dak Prescott coming into this year because I feel like it's kind of nothing really to lose situation. I mean, they just lost their wide receiver 1, but people are really underestimating how good that CeeDee Lamb is and Tolbert, that wide receiver that they just brought in, and Dalton Schultz, still Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard in the backfield. It's the Cowboys. They have a good offensive line. That's their staple. So, I mean, their offense is going to move the ball. I mean, and Dak Prescott is a great running and passing threat. He's got an incredible arm and he can run the ball. So I definitely see Dak being a threat. Do I think that this is his best fantasy year? No, probably not. But I do still like the upside of Dak Prescott coming into this year. That's honestly, if you want a guy who's going to give you QB, top 5 QB numbers, and you're not going to spend a top 5 pick on the guy, Dak Prescott might actually be your guy there. Like, because you could get Dak Prescott if you really wanted to reach on. I consider this reaching. Some people don't. If you really wanted to reach on Dak, the 6th round is really where you could get Dak at the quarterback position, I think. And I think you could snag him there and really be set for your entire season at the quarterback position and not have to worry about getting another quarterback until the, last 4 or 5 rounds of the draft.
Okay. So for me, Dak Prescott is kind of a stay away from, right? Like for me, because I tend to look at quarterback and I'm like, all right, what defenses are he going to see twice a year? And that Washington defense to me is the best defense in the division.
It's very good. It's very good.
And the Philadelphia Eagles defense is much improved as well.
Nothing to sneeze at. That's for sure.
And then you got Miami or not Giants. Miami. I'm sorry, Giants. They're but their
right
defense is kind of their staple too, right? Like so. For me, Dak is kind of is one of those guys that if I need a second quarterback to pick up for my bye week, that's where I'm taking Dak. I'm not taking Dak above other guys. I'm not even taking Dak above, like a Tom Brady right now. Because look, I know Tom Brady is one of those guys that people like to stay away from because he's not, he doesn't run a ton. He's just, but his passing yards are always there. His touchdowns are usually there. I like what they've done at the wide receiver position for him. And so I don't know. I mean, they did just lose their starting center though for the season too. So, but I'm not taking.
That's tough. Their backup's okay though.
Yeah, I'm not taking Dak above guys like that. But I would take him as my QB2, somebody I can set on the bench, and if he starts lighting it up, I could throw him in there to help me on a week if I'm having problems with my number one or if there's not a matchup I don't like. There are other guys, like another guy you mentioned, like Lamar Jackson, is one of those guys that I kind of tend to stay away from too because of the injury bug. I know I'm going to lose probably 3 or 4 games a season with him as my quarterback, and that's just not something that I'm willing to do in a year by year draft. Now, if it's a dynasty draft like you were talking about earlier, that's a guy I'm taking high, But where it's a year by year redraft, I'm not really sold on guys that I know are going to be missing a couple games a season because they're prone to get hurt. It's like a couple years back, right before they started changing the way they ran their offense. You would stay away from New Orleans Saints running backs, no matter how good they were, right? Because they just didn't run the ball. They threw the ball all over the place,
right.
And you were never getting any points with a New Orleans Saints running back. And so that's where I kind of am with guys like Dak Prescott and guys like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's something to worry about when you get into any mobile quarterback, especially if there has been previous injuries before. But yeah, no, if Lamar is one of those guys where I don't think I'm drafting him either, not just because of the injuries, but more of he just goes so high. I just don't find it like necessary to that's great. You have Josh Allen, but my RB3 is, you're like my RB3 is almost as good as your RB1 because you decided to go for Josh Allen. Like, oh, great. You have a fantasy quarterback who's number 1. My wide receivers are, top 5 and yours are top 20, so there's a big, that's why I don't like spending so high on a quarterback necessarily in non-super flex leagues. So
I gotcha. So let's go here because we're getting towards the back end of the hour that we're going to be on here. We've got guys that we've talked about, where we're going to draft, how you're going to draft, what your position is. Give me a sleeper at the quarterback position who might have one of those bust out fantasy years this year.
Easy. And it's a guy that had a little bit of a breakout season last year, slightly, I guess. through week 6, I think it was, or through week 4. Through week 4, this guy was on pace to throw for like 6,000 yards or something. And he just got a massive upgrade at the wide receiver position. He's got an awesome tight end and a good developing offensive line with a new head coach. And that is Derek Carr. Derek Carr. I think this is his year. This is his like last year for Matt Stafford. This is like because obviously Matt Stafford was older whenever he got his chance. But this is his like pre-Stafford age chance. He's got the wide receiver now. He's got the tight end. He's got the coaching staff. He's got the defense. He's got the weapons on the offensive side of the ball. He's got a good arm, and he plays for a really good team in a tough division. So they're going to get battle tested. They're going to know, they're going to get punched in the mouth throughout the year. So when it comes to playoff time, when they do get hit, they're going to be able to get back up and keep going. So
Joe's drunk dad.
Kenny Pickett. I don't know. I just think Trubisky. I think that's Trubisky's job right now.
I think so too. I think you're gonna have a short lease on Trubisky. But I also don't think that offense is good enough, even if Kenny Pickett does come in, to have any sustained success this season.
You don't think so?
I don't. I think
Pickett. Have you seen Pickens?
I have seen Pickett. I've seen Pickett.
That dude's a menace.
Look, they've had all 3 of their quarterbacks have had a really good preseason too. But I don't know. I don't think that offense is good enough. I love the coaching staff, right? I mean, they've never had a losing season. I think this might be their first losing season. And so, I don't.
Tough. I can't.
I know, right? But you got to think so. 8 and 9 is a losing season, so I think that's right around where they're going to be. And so I don't know. For me, I can't go with Kenny Pickett. You might call me a homer for this pick. Actually, you're going to call me a homer for this pick, but my breakout guy is going to be Justin Fields. I really think you're going to see a lot of growth in this guy. Not only is he taking over the team and going into a season knowing he's the number one, knowing that this is his team, this is his offense, but he's also got Luke Getsy, who was a sneaky good steal away from the Packers there. That was a sneaky good upgrade. I really liked getting Luke Getsy as our offensive coordinator. And I think that he's going to allow Justin to shine. Now, I know people are talking about, what about the offensive line? I think the offensive line is vastly improved too. I think having Tevin Jenkins move over to guard, he's had a really good preseason. I think that Justin Fields is going to be able to mature. I think you're going to see a lot of growth this year, which you're not going to see a ton of wins. They're not going to be a 10-win team. I'm not saying that, but Justin Fields is going to put up numbers this year. They've built to his strengths. They built a really speedy wide receiver core, and that's really going to play well to Justin Fields' strengths. And I think you're going to see something like him, like you saw in Patrick Mahomes' second season in the league. I think you're going to see something where he's going to start doing some things that are going to make you say, oh, wow. Look at this guy. This guy's going to be good if they build around him.
What do you mean he's going to start doing some things going to make you say, oh, wow? Did you see his preseason game the other day? 16 for 18, like what? Almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 149 passer rating.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is, and I've been saying this for a long, before even the preseason, before that last game, I said, people are sleeping on the Bears. I think that I don't love, but I like what they've done with the wide receiver position. I like what they've done building around Justin Fields' strengths. Now, they didn't go out and get the flashy names. They didn't bring in a Juju Smith-Schuster. They didn't bring in OBJ. They haven't brought in those types of guys, but they went in and brought in a couple of guys who can play to Justin's strengths, right? You pick up the kid from Kansas City. I can't think of his name.
Pringle.
I was going to say the chip. So you bring in Pringle and you bring in Equanimous St. Brown from the Packers, and you put a lot of speed in your wide receiver core, and I think that's going to play very well for the Chicago Bears. I like what they're doing there, and again, I like Luke Getsy. So for me, my sleeper at quarterback is going to be Justin Fields. So let's move on to the next position. Give me a sleeper at running back.
Sleeper running back. There is a couple of options here, but I'm going to go with that guy who is probably gone undrafted or might go undrafted or will be a super late round guy, and he could legitimately win you your league. Every year there's that one guy, and he always slips underneath the radar, and I think this is the guy this year, and I think I found him early, and that is former Florida Gator and current Houston Texan Damien Pierce. He has wowed all the coaches in Houston. I mean, you got to think Marlon Mack is a really good running back. You know, Houston has a nice running back core down there, and he comes in and just wins the job over three vets, a rookie, and that wasn't a first round pick, comes in and just says, oh, this is my job now, and just takes it to the point to where they're not even playing him in the preseason to make sure that he's completely healthy and ready to go for week 1. Houston has something here, and they know about it, and they don't want to show everybody yet. And there's a reason for all of this. And Damien Pierce is that reason. He is flashy. He is fun to watch. And he is going to be the guy this year when it comes to winning your league. When it gets to the, I drafted him in my dynasty league in the 12th round, something like that, because I was that high on him. I reached that high to grab this guy because he's going to be different. He's going to be really good, I think.
Yeah, and for me, look, I'm going to a team that, again, I don't think is going to win a ton of games, but I think he's going to have a really good season, and that's going to be Travis Etienne. I think Travis Etienne is going to have a phenomenal season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think he's going to have a good season catching the ball out of the backfield. So if you're in a PPR league, that's going to help you there too. Those
and he's got that chemistry.
Yeah, and I think Travis Etienne, I think he's going to sneakily have one of the best running back years of all the running backs. I think he's going to be a top 5 running back in fantasy this year. So I'm going with Travis Etienne as my running back sleeper.
I think I've got him in the man-hour league. I hope you're right.
That man-hour league that nobody showed up to the draft for except for Buck.
I did it. I did it while watching the Miami Dolphins preseason game.
Oh, did you? I didn't.
Yeah.
I completely forgot we even had a league until he sent out that text message, and I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" So then I looked up my ESPN thing. I'm like, I didn't even get an update, and I look at my team. I'm like, oh, I didn't do too bad. I said my quarterback.
No, I missed
Aaron Rodgers, but other than that,
right. I missed the first 3 rounds, and when I got in there, it selected Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, and I think Javonte Williams, my first 3 picks, and I was like, "This is great."
Is there like 3 of us in the league?
Huh? No, right? That's what I was thinking. There's 8 of us, man, but I don't know. It just slipped through the radar. Yeah, I like when you get to those. I like 8. I like having 8 people in a fantasy league. 10 and 12 is always obviously fun, but like I just like 8 because it's not like where it's 4 or 6 and every single team is absolutely loaded, but it's also to a point to where like you're not going to have a guy who puts up, 6 points a week in your lineup every week. I just find that boring at times.
I played in a 20-man dynasty league for about 4
years. That sounds awful. I don't know why you did that to yourself. That sounds horrible.
That
doesn't sound like any fun at all.
It was so hard to get.
That sounds awful.
Really good players. It was actually really competitive though. I mean, really competitive. Scores
I bet.
Tight. Nobody was just like anybody out. So it's not.
I bet it was the driest league ever.
Oh my god, it was so like.
What were the scores? Like what, 60-60 every week?
No. I mean, we'd have them in the hundreds, but it was
hundreds. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they were all really close. Nobody was really blowing anybody out. You know what I mean? But that's tough. I do like 8. I think 10 for me is what I really enjoy. I think 10 is the good number. All right, so let's keep this going. Wide receiver. Give me a sleeper at wide receiver.
Wide receiver sleeper. And this one's tough. Because I was trying to decide. There's so many different ways you can go with this, because wide receiver is such a heavily used position. And gosh, okay, you're gonna call me a homer. you're going to. But I'm going to say Allen Lazard. If Aaron Rodgers is throwing you the football, you get better at football. Now, am I saying Allen Lazard is the best wide receiver in the league or that he's going to be, a top 10 guy? No, I don't think so. But if Aaron Rodgers is throwing you the ball,
you just couldn't help
yourself. It just works. It just works. I mean, you got to think. Jordy Nelson was a farmer.
Oh,
NFL All-Pro. Bang. Randall Cobb was a quarterback. Bang. NFL All-Pro. Aaron Rodgers gets his hands on him. Devontae Adams was on the trade block and then became the wide receiver 1, and Aaron Rodgers was throwing to him. Bang. Best wide receiver in the league and best in Packers history.
How sad are you going to be when they finish the season at 7-10?
They are not going to finish the season at 7-10.
They're going to be a 7-10 team.
That will not happen. That will not. You think I will
put money on it.
You would put how much money? We have a top 5 defense. We maybe even have the best defense in the league. There is a possibility.
Would you put your hair on it?
No, I don't put my. You know this. We've had this going on for years now. You've known this for years now, Brandon Combs. You have known this for years now. My hair is not going on the line. It's just not. It cannot happen.
7-10.
But no,
all
the Green Bay Packers
win 8 games. That's it. 8 games. You don't trust your boys to win 8 games?
I do trust my boys, but what if Aaron gets hurt or something like that? Like I can't predict the future. Like let's say Aaron gets tackled in week 2 versus the Bears and shatters his collarbone for the 3rd time. Like,
or maybe he does some psychedelic drugs in week 3 and doesn't return.
Hey, here's all I'm saying, okay? He can do all the psychedelics he wants to if we keep winning 13 games this season.
And suspension.
Well, the drugs he was using aren't in the NFL like illegal substances policies. They're just not in it.
So he found a loophole.
He did.
So you can't smoke weed, but you can do shrooms.
I guess. I don't. Like I'm not with the ayahuasca, all that stuff.
There's got to be something that the NFL. I mean, look, the NFL.
Well, did you see him on Joe Rogan the other day?
He suspended a guy for 11 games for after having 2 grand juries say there wasn't enough evidence, but the NFL is like, nah, 11 games.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that whole like just situation is so wild to me. The whole Deshaun Watson thing. Yeah, I don't know about that. But did you see on Joe Rogan's show? Aaron was on it the other day, and Aaron said that he took Percocets a couple of times before games, and he would play like that. And he said it wasn't a good idea, and I don't do it anymore. But I'm like, how does this guy fly all this under the radar? Like, this guy is out here wheeling and dealing and completely running the NFC North and running the NFC in the regular season for the last like 10 years. This guy's been going nuts in the NFC and killing everybody. And he's just been high the whole time. Like, just what? Like, what is going on right now? It's confusing to me. I don't understand how he's done this, but yeah, no, I don't know. And yeah, but to comment on the ayahuasca, I can't say it correctly, I don't think. But to comment on that, yeah, it was not in the drug policy thing. That's how I guess he got away with it. So I guess whatever they were testing for, his pee didn't show up with that.
I'm gonna give you my sleeper, and then I'm gonna come back and ask you a question about somebody that we just talked about. So my sleeper is actually going to be Elijah Moore of the New York Jets.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think Elijah Moore is going to have a really good season at wide receiver. I think that the Jets are going to be better than a lot of people think that they're going to be this year as well. I know their quarterback position is kind of in a funk. I know that, the
quarterback's a funk.
I know Joe Flacco is 37 years old, and his wife, I think, is 38, and he's got a MILF Hunter as a backup.
I was about to say, Joe Flacco's wife better watch out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joe Flacco's going to be having to look in the stands if Zach Wilson isn't on the sidelines during the game.
Right.
So there might be some.
You better hope that Zach keeps his job, because if Zach loses his job to Joe Flacco, Zach's going to be up in the stands with Joe's wife.
All of a sudden, LeBron's not bringing his mom to any more Jets games. I don't know what's going on.
Nope.
I know she likes to mess around with players. So he's just like,
ain't getting me like that. There. I ain't getting got.
But no, I think Elijah Moore is going to have a good season. I think Joe Flacco is going to have a good season. And then when Zach Wilson comes back, I think he's gonna be able to be the Zach Wilson we all thought he was going to be. Look out for Elijah Moore to have a really good season. Now, let me get back to a guy we just talked about, Deshaun Watson. If you're in, let's say, what was it, like round 20, you take a flyer on Deshaun Watson in case you need a quarterback come playoff time and maybe yours is injured or not performing well?
If you've got or plan on having another quarterback other than him. So like, let's say you have your starter and you've either got a backup or you're planning on getting another quarterback after Deshaun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea. I mean, when he's on the field, obviously he hasn't played in the season, but
and he's not playing until week 13.
Right. The dude can still ball. I mean,
I would have him on my roster just to play in week 13 when he gets to play the Texans. In Houston, too, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me that game doesn't get flexed to Monday Night Football. Tell me that game does not get flexed to Monday Night Football.
Dude, oh my God. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Just for week 13, I would take him for sure.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna go crazy that game. That's
what's the over under on number of massages he gets to week 12 when he's hanging out in Houston before week 13?
No comment.
No, you're not gonna go there, huh?
Did you see? I just got Madden 23, and in Madden 23, in Face of the Franchise mode, where you can play as a player, you set your weekly activities, and one of your weekly activities you can do is a sports massage. And I was like,
and if you play for the Houston Texans, they'll pay for you to get a private hotel room.
I was sitting there, and I was like,
who are posing as massage therapists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess. Yeah. No, I saw that sports massage thing, and I saw it on an NFL meme page or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, Deshaun Watson clicks yes."
Let me know when you're ready to play Madden too, by the way, so I can kick your ass and show you how to play the game. I mean, I've been at you for 2 years to play me in a game of Madden, and you still are too scared to play me in a game of Madden.
I don't have PSN.
Whatever. Is it not cross-platform yet?
No, I don't even think it is either. I don't think it is that. I know you can do it on Fortnite. Like, we could play together on Fortnite and that stuff like that. Like, we could do Fortnite, Apex, like Warzone, all those. But no, I don't think. I think NBA, I think 2K is now. I think 2K is cross. But stupid. I don't think Madden is yet.
All right, so we gave you your quarterback, we gave you your running back, we gave you your wide receiver. Now let's go the opposite way with it. Okay, because let's just face it, tight end, defense, and kicker, you're just going to pick randomly. And you might even swap them out every week with the waiver wire. It's just how it goes. So give me a quarterback who you don't think is going to be a top quarterback this year that everybody else thinks is going to be a top quarterback this year. Say it.
I'm trying to think, honestly. I'm
Say like, oh it, AR12.
No, that's definitely not.
Why? But
you just wanted to say AR12.
No, Wyatt, look, I'm going with AR12. Yeah, I'll start.
You're just praying it's AR12. You just want it to be AR12.
His number one receiver is going to be Allen Lazard or Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins hasn't been good in years. He's like 145 years old in football years. He is not. And Allen Lazard is like 910 steps down from Devontae Adams, who was his only target last year. Allen, the AR12 is going to have the worst season out of all of the top quarterbacks this season. I
don't see that. I just don't.
No, you see
He's
it.
He's coming off back-to-back MVPs.
You don't want to say
back-to-back.
That's fine. Back-to-back MVPs where Devontae Adams was his top target. He doesn't have any targets. I know. Look, you can see it. See, you keep saying you can't see it. You can see it. You just don't want to believe it.
I definitely think there's a step down. I agree with you. I think there's a step down this year, but I don't see Aaron
You don't want to
taking his foot off the gas for at least the next 2 years. And I think Aaron retires after 2 years from now.
I think Aaron retires at the end of the season, and if he gets hurt sometime during this season, I think he retires during this season. I think he's done with football. I really do. I think everything that he's been doing as of late shows me that he's on his way out. He's got one foot out the door with football.
See, I don't think it's necessarily like one foot out the way with football. I just think he's stopped caring so much. And I love this Aaron. Like, I think like this Aaron is my favorite version of Aaron that we've had. We've had like the diva Aaron. We've had
so you like
young
Con Air
Aaron.
2 Aaron.
I really do. I like Karen Aaron. I really do.
Right.
I think he's a beast. This has been the last 2 years of football.
And I thought it was a perfect example. It said Aaron Rodgers is the Kyrie Irving of the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I would say that Kyrie is definitely a step down skill-wise in his league compared to Aaron, because Kyrie Irving is not the most skilled point guard of all time, and Aaron is the most skilled quarterback of all time. Not the GOAT. Not the GOAT. Not the GOAT. Not the mentality. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And as for like superstars in the league who are distracted by religion, spirituality, and drugs, sure, there's definitely some parallels.
So you still haven't given me a name. Who's your top quarterback?
I guess if I have to, my top quarterback, I don't think any of the top quarterbacks will be pretty bad this year. I think we got a nice set of quarterbacks in the league right now.
See, I really do. I'll give you a second one. I think Patty Mahomes is going to take a step back this year.
Oh no, he lost Tyreek, but like he got Marquez out of the scaling. He added Juju.
You're right.
He still got Travis.
But did you see what the defenses of Las Vegas and LA went out and did? I mean, he's going to play the Chargers twice a year, and if he rolls out to the left, he's got Khalil Mack, and if he rolls out to the right, he's got Joey Bosa. When he goes to Vegas, he's got the same damn problem.
Max Crosby and Calais Campbell. Yeah, sure.
And not only that, but they went out and got Jones in Las Vegas.
Yeah, no. So I totally agree. Patrick Mahomes is different animal.
That's why I think they are going to take a step back as well. I think Patty Mahomes is going to take a step back. Doesn't have Tyreek Hill. He's going to have slower receivers. He's going to have to make more things happen.
No, Sky Moore is almost fast. Sky Moore is fast.
Yeah, but he's not Tyreek Hill.
He's not Tyreek Hill, but he's just as fast. They didn't lose speed now. They lost. Well, I guess they lost two speedy receivers and got one back. But I don't know. MVS is a speedy receiver. He's a deep threat that's speedy, and he's taller too.
Watch and see.
And then we
are going to have another conversation. We are going to have another conversation come like week 8. And when I am right about the Green Bay Packers, and then when I am right about the Kansas City Chiefs, both having off seasons, you're going to apologize to me. You're going to apologize to me. It's going to happen.
They're not.
We got about 2 minutes here. So quick answers here. Give me a top running back who is going to take a step back.
Top running back who's going to take a step back, Nick Chubb.
Okay. I'm going to go with David Montgomery. I think that he's going to take a step back because I think that Justin Fields is going to take on more of a role, and they're going to become more of a passing offense.
So do you think they move on to Khalil Herbert?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I think they will because he is a better back out of the backfield. And that's what you're going to need to make Justin Fields successful is going to be, it's kind of going to be a lot like the Saints back in the day, because you're going to want this kid touching the ball so much that you're going to want a running back coming out of the backfield. You're not going to have a running back that's going to have 25 to 30 carries a game. He's going to have between 15 and 20 carries a game. So that's why I think David Montgomery will take a step back. Give me a wide receiver you're going to see take a step back.
Wide receiver that'll take a step back. I want to say Cooper Kupp because he just had such an incredible year last year that it's going to be so hard to replicate that. And Matt Stafford has a shoulder injury, but at the same time, I still just think he's going to be dominant to the point to where, like, yes, it'll be a step back, but it won't be a step back. You know what I mean? It won't be a big step. So with that being said, the big step back that I'm expecting from a top fantasy wideout. Oh, give me Keenan Allen. I think Mike Williams might take more of an influential role in the Chargers offense this year, actually. I just thought about that. I would say maybe Keenan, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. For me, I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson. For reasons why we talked about earlier.
No, don't.
Jalen Reagor.
No, stop. Stop.
I'm just telling you, Justin Jefferson's going to be the guy that takes a step back. I'm just telling you.
Jalen Reagor is not that guy. He's just not.
All right. Well, hey, look, my draft is tomorrow.
Justin Jefferson is that guy.
My draft is tomorrow. And I need you to tell me one tight end that we are going to have that I need to really take a look at, like mid fifth round.
Dalton Schultz.
We are out of time, Wyatt Williams. We are out of time. You gotta go. I gotta go. Man Hour Nation, rise up.